And
All right,
So,
we're live now.
just want to follow up on something from last week's episode for all our listeners out there. A, thank you for your support. B, you know where to get your hot takes from because your boy told you last week KD was going to Golden State. The whole team was not behind me. Now they wishing they had a listen. Thank you. Take
All
it over,
right.
Maya.
This
Well,
old
now
Stephen
on.
A. Smith wannabe guy.
that's gonna be his new job. He gonna leave us for that.
He gonna
Okay,
try and be on
so
one take.
David Broussard.
He better be on second take.
Maya, like, okay, can y'all be quiet now?
Second take.
anyway, okay. So today's topic. Well, first we're going to start off. We have a question for you guys, and for all of us here too. So Rio found this question online, and it states, "Who is the biggest threat to your freedom?" We have A, ISIS, B, the government, and C, police. So, who would like to start?
I would say B, the government.
I agree.
I second that.
I third that.
Quattro.
Okay. Well, look at us being all in agreement over something.
For the
That was
first
easy.
time.
I know that
First
was
time.
easy. So there's been a lot going on, as we all know. Lots of shootings, lots of retaliation to those shootings. Um, so where you want to start? You want to start with oppression? You want to start with what it means to be young and black in the U.S.? Where are we going from here?
Well, let's start with why do we all choose to answer our question that way? Why is the government the biggest threat to our freedom?
We could do that too. Okay.
So, Maya, you went last on that question. Go ahead, start us off. Would you say the government's the biggest threat to your freedom?
Well, at the end of the day, they really have the, it's not the say all, but like they have more control than that of ISIS, which is kind of far away. Even though like there's been San Bernardino attacks, which is, actually resonates like really close with me, because that's one county over. I know that at the end of the day, the government it just has more control, direct control over my choices and what I can do.
Okay. James?
I agree with that. I would also say, like, clearly, the government has like a history. First of all, they're the government. They run everything anyway. Second of all, they have a history of being like not so on the up and up. There's been conspiracy theories, all kinds of stuff. Like, I don't know. It's just there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
See?
Hey, ISIS is in another country, and you can argue that they really don't exist. It's just what they're calling them now. It was Al Qaeda, it was the Taliban, now it's ISIS. And the police, I won't say that the police messes with me every day, so I can't really say the police, but the government, like you guys have already said, they control everything. And if they wanted to, they could, in a certain situation, if it's civil disorder, they can just implement martial law to try to try to really bring the hammer down. So, hey, I'm going with the government.
Mario?
Well, it's like everybody else saying, ISIS, been hitting a few little spots, so it's not like they're really affecting everybody. As far as police concerned, I mean, the government pretty much employ them, so I mean, they higher up. So I'm gonna have to go with the government for one, because kind of like back when Maya was saying, they put laws in place, different policies and everything like that within the country that try to limit you to different things or try to sway your view into thinking a certain way with the different type of laws and policies they put in place.
Gotcha. Well, my take is that as Americans, the United States government is our biggest threat to freedom because within the confines of our society, they define and govern what our society is. And the biggest issue that I've found myself having with the government is that the government and economic theory and policy within our country is not progressive, right? Whereas people in society and business, in our society is progressive. So what do I mean by that? When the Second Amendment to bear arms was created, it was created for a specific type of weapon. Business and people in our society have said we want different types of weapons, and so people say they want it, businesses create it. The government won't change the laws to coincide with the changes in our society from the business and what the people want, right? So as long as you have that, and then we don't have a level of accountability within our government, like, this Hillary Clinton issue, where the government is doing its own investigation of other government officials, you never can really get the full truth, right? Because we as the people are never involved in their process. So that's why I say I'm not too trustworthy of
Why
those guys.
we as the
Well said.
people voted these folks in, so that's our
Well,
way of being
yes and no.
involved.
So people always say that it's your right to vote. My counter argument to this is that yes, it's your right to vote, but if someone's telling you only have two options to vote on, then realistically you didn't have a right to begin with, right?
No,
So if
you
you look
had
at like
other options.
you had no, but look,
You
if you
have
look at the
to
primary
name a
process, right? You have to vote straight ticket for the primary process. So even still, every time you're voting, they tell
What do
you
you mean
who you
by
have the ability to vote on. So
so?
like when you had the primary voting, you couldn't say I want to vote for, like, you know Hillary, and then here's a Republican for something else that I want to write. You have to vote all Democratic, all Republican. So again, you're given
Unless
a
there's another no, because here's the thing. So you only can vote within your party. So you're classified within a party. But if
but
I was
why is
saying
that?
like, oh, I am now, I don't know, radical, I would have to vote within the radical, like whoever was there. Sadly, there is no one there.
No, but what
So
I'm
Yeah.
it's
saying, but that's the
chosen.
point I'm making. The point I'm making is that you'd have to vote for whoever is there versus voting for anybody that you choose to.
Well,
So
so
to
you
me,
just
that's
want to
not
have
a
a fill-in process. So like,
no, not a fill-in process. I'm saying, like, the person who is within the Democratic Party or within the Republican Party is people who they put there. Like, we all knew Hillary was running, not because we said we wanted her to run, but because she's been put up to prop to be this person to run. So that was going to happen. You see what I'm saying? So I'm saying we don't actually have a choice of where these people come from. They come, then we have to vote based on what we're given.
but
Because
they're not
because if we
necessarily
had
put in place.
power,
So I don't feel
if
like
we had
anybody put
power,
Trump in that place for him to
no,
be
no, no.
on the Republican
No,
ticket.
but they did though. People put him with that and to be in the GOP race. Because if it was about if it was about us people, we would have popular vote, not the electoral college. So, and then we don't get started on voter registration laws. So that's what I'm saying. We technically have the right to vote, but we really don't
That's a
have the right
good
to vote.
point.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Not to mention people running on campaigns and then actually getting into the office and not living up to anything that they promised
Because
on the
there's no level of
campaign trail.
accountability. Like I tell
Right.
people all the time, like,
So
our government business. If a CEO misses earnings for 2 3 quarters, they're gonna get him out of there and find somebody else. If your state representative or your congressman doesn't, vote to pass a budget and they don't get a budget passed for, 2 3 terms, do they get fired from office? Does anything happen? No. They get to take a recess and they go on
no.
their trips and then they come back and then we'll try it again. So there's really no level of accountability within the government. And again, they control everything. Yes, we put those people into place, but people are lifelong politicians. They just there to try to keep their job, not try to elicit change. And we can't force them to elicit change. So
Is it harder to have that accountability when you have two parties that are kind of going against each other and have different ideologies? So they want to implement something and the other party's going against them to make their party look better. Does
the
that
better
kind of
question
like
is
hurt the accountability as
the
far as
better
like trying to
question
pass
is
laws and stuff?
well, kind of what Maya just said. The better question is, why do we only have two parties? Why can't there be three? Why have to be
Yeah.
four?
Well,
Why
there's a whole
it
lot
has
of
to be a
parties.
binary
Yeah,
situation?
there's just not any.
I
There's
mean,
just not
you
enough
have the
Essentially, there
support.
are
reputation.
two
There's
parties
just
on
not
there.
enough
You're a
support.
Democrat or a
There's not
Republican.
enough resources for all of those other people. Because you do have like the independent party, you do have like the Tea Party, you do have
And they can't get on those
the rent
platforms
is
I'm not
and
too
the
stuff.
damn
guy who
high
was running for
party. Yeah,
president for the
So it's a lack of
of
resources, like
America.
Jamie said.
Hold on, one at a time. One at a time. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I was just saying, like I recently met the guy who was running for president under like the Social Workers of America. Like that's a party. Um,
yeah.
but
I
just
mean,
like Derek was saying,
Nobody knows who he
yeah,
is.
there's tons of parties out there,
exactly.
but there's just not the
But why is that?
resources that are there. There's not the attention
Because there's a
because
guy
they've been,
who's running for I think it's the Libertarian Party. I think I can't recall which party it is, but I've seen him multiple times, and I've seen him on the same shows like Hillary's on, that Bernie
yeah,
was on, that. So I see this guy, but again, especially with what I would think is, and I would love to hear. Obviously, this isn't our topic for the day, but so I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 2014. There used to be a contribution limit that you could donate to specific candidates and parties and stuff like that. Well, they
yeah,
took those contribution limits off, so now you can put in as much as you want to. So America being a capitalistic society,
Mhm.
why has that not helped those other parties? Because they already have had support. That's why the party exists, right? So why haven't we seen them? Because if you look, like I said, if you look in the rest of our society, um, right, cabs, ran transportation forever. Then startups like Uber, like Lyft, just immediately came in because they had access to capital. So these other parties politically also have access to capital. Somehow, it's what we see in the business world doesn't translate to the political world in terms of people starting to get more capital and then they get their name out there.
I
Why
don't
is
think
that?
it just because like okay, capital versus like political ideology is very different. I don't think that that's
Yeah,
necessarily the best analogy to make.
Trump.
Well, I think it is because, like, so
I.e.
like the other
Trump.
day, they just, I forgot what the number was, but Hillary Clinton spends like over $20 million a month on ad campaigns against Donald Trump. If someone else, another party had $20 million, they could get the same commercials. It's not that Hillary's ideology allows her to have more commercials or better commercials,
But it's not necessarily all about the
because Donald
capital.
Trump ain't running
That's what I'm saying.
commercials.
No,
So
that's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily like all about the resources and the capital because we've had this system in place for so long. It's always been like a bipartisan system since like I think George Washington was the one who like condemned it, and then ever since George, it was like, yo, we have Democrats, we have
George Bush,
Republicans, we
whoever it
have the
was the one.
Whigs, and we
And I,
have this, that, and the third. You
and,
said
and
It
what?
I,
used to
I
be the Democratic Republican Party. Like we were once
yeah,
an entity together.
I think too,
Oh
kind
yeah,
of,
yeah.
just kind of going back to what David was saying earlier, like we don't get to pick these people, blah blah. I mean, you sometimes when you give people too many choices, things don't go as planned as the government wants them to be. So that goes back to everybody's conspiracy theory, about the government trying to do this and that. So it's like, okay, we're gonna give you two choices, two different parties to choose from, because we put everybody on mainstream. You got what, five different parties or something like that. Then they can't continue on with their plan to rule the world and all this other extra stuff everybody be thinking that's going on.
Exactly, and going back to what you're saying, Mario, because we're specifically speaking about this in terms of like the president, but there are tons of other offices that people could run for that are independents that they could be having, right? City
Right.
council, board of education. These people aren't in any of those places, so this isn't even a presidential thing. This is all across the board: congressmen, senator, excuse me, not congressmen, House representatives, people, senators, and all other elected officials from the tax surveyor person in your county. These are all elected officials. They're all in one of two parties. And the reason why I think it's interesting is because the reason why people say it, like you just mentioned, Maya, that Donald Trump has so much, you know, appeal to people is the fact that he's not running on this traditionalist system, even though he's within a party. So if people really felt that way, there are other options out there, but obviously that is not resonating for some reason because it's more than just ideology. Because Donald Trump's not talking any ideology for the Republican Party.
He just
I
So,
have
talking.
no idea what he's running on. Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying though. So he's not even running on the same ideology that we said is what's keeping people within these confines.
No, but I never brought up Donald Trump. That wasn't me.
No,
I
no,
was just
I'm bringing
saying
him
that
up.
was
I'm
not
just
a
no,
good.
I'm
Yeah,
bringing
no,
him
but
up
I
and
was
saying
just
that.
saying. I just think the analogy that you gave, talking about startups versus people and their political ideologies, just to me, they don't mesh.
I
But
think it
that
just like I said to me, it just goes back to me. My initial point is that business is progressive, the government is not progressive. Because in every other asset and facet in our society, we're willing to change and do other things. Like people are really willing to take an app and invest their money point blank without reading the perspectives, without doing anything. Like people are willing to do that, and you tell me they're not willing to vote on a different political party. Like I just feel like those two things to me go hand in hand. Like we're willing to have some like a robot drive us in a car, but we can't vote on a different political party. Like come on, that just seems ridiculous to me.
Says America.
Uh, yeah. I mean, as far as that goes, I think like the business and the political sectors are kind of similar because when you really think about like what's going on, what really happens anytime there is like a young startup party, there is something like a new party with like some different ideals, like they always basically get absorbed by one of the bigger parties. Like anytime there's something, okay, we're gonna start this, we're gonna run on this platform, we're gonna do this, that, and the third. First of all, they get xed out just because of like the history and all the resources that everything the Democrats and Republicans do have. But then, like once they see people like kind of starting to gravitate towards those thoughts and ideals and that's whatever, they start to kind of like integrate that into their platform as well. Which is the same thing that businesses do. They see like all these new technological innovations, something that's making whatever better, and then they start to integrate that, and they start to like grab this, that, and the third, and put it into their business plans, put it into their business model, and start adapting. So I don't know. I do think they are kind of similar as far as that
I
goes.
vehemently disagree, but that's all I'm gonna say on that.
When you say that the media kind of play a little, have a role into this, because I mean that's all you see is the two parties that's running. You don't really see too much of these other people being broadcast like that. So if you don't got people who are hipped on it, they ain't gonna know. That's all they gonna know is Democrats, Republicans. So if you see like now, a lot of people say, "Oh, we're not gonna vote because it's like voting for two evils." We don't know, but I mean, if they were smart, they'd be like, okay, we don't want to vote for them too. But what about these other people that's running?
But see,
And
that's my thing though. For
to
people
go,
to
check
say we're
them
not
out.
gonna, people we're not gonna vote because it's two evils. People have always said that. People have always felt that way. Like this isn't a new sentiment within our society. It's more voiced now, but people have always felt that way. So my thing is that any other part of our society, when we want to find a substitute, we find it, right? We can look across the board and see that, right? From cell phones to computers to cars
But
to
those are all things like that ran on business. I guess the thing what I think about when we're comparing business to politics, like there's a lot of laws in place like for antitrust law, so there has to be like we can't have we have big
I was gonna
conglomerations,
say we
but
definitely have tons of conglomerates.
no, but what I'm saying though is like they've had to like branch out, and that's why I remember like back when I was little, well, we all were little, like AT&T had to like make all those little pack bells and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
but then they reabsorbed them
And
within the last five
so
years.
you don't have
So
to
it's
do
like,
that. No, and they did, but what I'm saying is like at a certain point though, they had to like try not to do that. There hasn't been a time where we had like I guess antitrust laws for the two party system. Do you get
no,
what
no,
I'm
no,
saying? Like
but that's my point though. You're correct, but the only thing that's going to change us having two parties is people demanding we have two parties, like having more than one party. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm
and I
saying,
feel like there's people out there demanding it, but historically we've always had two parties.
It ain't enough
no,
here
but
Kind of
my
though.
hard
point
to
is,
break from
why
that.
is that though? Because people have always been upset about these two parties. Even people who were within the parties, right? Like
Yeah.
even when Bush was in office, people in the GOP were still upset about something, right? Well, we have the president, but we don't have the house. Like it's always something. So what I'm saying is that we've always complained about this. Why have we not changed that? Why haven't we tried to change that? Like even the Tea Party,
I
I'm
mean, it
not a
goes back
fan.
to
What can
go
we
back
do
to
as people realistically to change that?
right.
So the
I
Tea
said
As
go
Party,
back to what
citizens,
you
let
were
I
me
don't
give you an
know.
saying
example. So the Tea
about the
Party,
government.
I'm not a fan of them, but I'm a fan of what they did in terms of we're Republicans, but we think different than what mainstream Republicans is. So we're over here doing this, and
Did
they
you
made
see
a
a Tea
movement,
Party candidate?
huh?
When you look like, was there a Tea Party candidate
I
that
thought it was
During that
Ted
time period,
Cruz.
yes, running for House seats, absolutely. There
okay?
was a ton of them.
Well, I guess when I'm thinking about it, I know that there's other areas of the election, but we're like I think from like like when I think about like the president, I know that we're still voting for Senate and House and stuff like that. I don't think that there was ever going to be enough support behind them for them to have like a presidential candidate.
But my
And when
thing
we
is
talk
that
about the
it's more important to
election,
have a House than a
that's
president.
more
No.
okay. And I in constitutional law, I get that, but what I'm saying, like at the end of the day, like I don't even know how to like put it. Come back to me. Like I have something to say, but it's just like it's not coming.
Well,
No, it's just,
It's just like
like I said, I don't know. It's weird. It's like I'm trying to think. It was a good comparison. So like I
I
look at
can.
the president is like I look at like a wedding, right? So the wedding is like the biggest part or the biggest marketed part of someone's relationship, but it has like no bearing on like their actual relationship, right? Like how great your wedding day was doesn't determine if you're going to stay married or divorced, right? So it's just like the president race. Like the presidential race is the sexiest race to talk about. It's great to talk about, but if you don't have the House, if you don't have that backing within the Senate, it's really it's like look at President Obama, his first term specifically. It's almost irrelevant and counterintuitive to care about, oh, I got a Democratic president, but he doesn't have the House. Because when you don't have the House, you try to pass something, it's going to get vetoed. Like I heard Paul Ryan say that the other day. I thought it was very interesting. He said, no, not Paul Ryan. It was
House
a dude
doesn't.
from I think it was from Tennessee or East Coast. He was a senator from one of them states, and the guy was like, I can't think of my man's name, but he's on Meet the Press. He said everything you've described for public policy, you're a Republican. Everything you've described is exactly what Hillary Clinton is saying. but you're not supporting her, you're going to support Donald Trump. He said, why is that? He said, because at the end of the day, I'm in a house. If he brings something crazy to the house, we're not passing it. I was like, wow, like that's exactly the point. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, they didn't have the momentum necessarily for the Tea Party to win a presidential race or even get someone in that race. And yes, that does definitely, to their detriment, kind of knock their national media down. But if they're able to get people in the house, to me, it's kind of like racism. Yes, racism exists. It's covert now versus overt, but it's still just as effective. So even if you can't win a presidential race, but you can still get all the seats that you want within Congress, to me that's just as effective, because those people are the people who sit on those subcommittees and are able to pass all these different laws and different things like that.
So yes, that's true within like the United States. That okay, so anything that's going on here, like I'm not concerned about who's going to be president when I think about my rights as an individual, like my individual rights,
For
because
sure.
I understand that we have a three-party system.
Hmm.
But what the issue is the president has a lot of power when it comes to foreign policy because the
That's very true.
Constitution
That's very
doesn't
true.
really talk about that. And
I agree.
so, like, so I don't want you to just like. It almost seems like you think that the president's almost like a figurehead. Like,
No, I didn't say
no,
that from, but I
no,
didn't say
but
nothing
like
stupid
when
like that.
you didn't say straight, but it's like the wedding and it's the sexiest thing. Like, it's like,
It
yeah, you
is.
know,
We don't
and
say vote or die for who's the governor of your state. We put vote or die T-shirts on when it comes to who's the president. That's what I mean by that. It's the most
maybe not in your state.
publicized.
We learned that we needed to do
Well,
that.
that's
We
because
have to
y'all had
vote on this
Arnold. You know what I'm saying? I can't speak on that.
you vote or die.
No, they should say vote or drop. That's what they should say. Um,
So,
but no, I feel what you're
So,
saying. I'm just saying that's the most publicized thing. I didn't mean by
oh,
any stretch
definitely.
that one or two is more
mhm.
important than the other. They're obviously, anytime there's an election, your butt needs to vote on it. Like I checked myself the other day. We get back to the police issue because I was at this rally for that. And I said I can't talk about being politically involved. I don't even know who's sitting on the city council. So I looked up who's on the city council. I'm reading their bios. I'm trying to figure out who these people are, where they come from, what their backgrounds is, and what their view is of how the city of Dallas needs to run. And so that's what I'm saying. All levels of government and election, you know, uh, locally, state, as well as nationally, we need to be involved in that process and know at least who we're voting for. If we're only gonna have two choices, at least know who them two choices is, right? So besides the color of their party.
Well said. Okay, guess we can get on to our real topic now.
All
There
right.
you go. So, I mean, it depends on which way you want to go from there, like leading in. So, we had a few questions. Well, what does it mean to be young and black within the United States?
Hmm.
We were going to talk about oppression and how that, like, what forms of retaliation come from that.
That got my
Uh,
vote.
well, there you go.
No, I'm just saying
Hey,
this is a
no,
democratic system. I am a Democrat in a democratic system.
no, we're
Everybody
a
vote.
republic. We're a republic,
No,
and
never.
I me so that you can make that decision. So, David, you said oppression
Okay.
and retaliation. So let's go.
Okay. Well, no, I just wonder because going back to, our initial question about why we all feel the government is the biggest threat to our freedom. But within the confines of the government, as Mario said, they're the higher ups for the police system, for the justice system, for the court system. So that's who they employ. So with this incident that happened in Dallas, as well as the 2 days prior, I guess it happened in the same day, excuse me, deaths of the two armed black men by the hands of police, who was considered the authority within the society that the government put in place. What is the proper retaliation when you're upset with how the system is set up? Because again, people will look at it and say these are innocent police officers, innocent men, innocent Americans who were killed. And yes, that is true, but they're also a part of the system designed to use whatever authority they so choose. So if you want to rebel against that society and they're a part of the authority within the society, is it okay to retaliate against them?
Who wants to go?
I would say yes and no.
Safe
So,
answer.
so,
Yeah, this is hot take, bro.
so no, because just as we've kind of been seeing a little bit. I just been watching a few little videos and stuff, like just more and more stuff happening where the cops are getting a little bit more anti, I guess you want to say, or they're more like so when they put people over there, they're a little bit more hesitant. They don't know what to expect, right? Because now they know that people don't really respect the authority. So it's like, okay, if I pull you over, I'm kind of on edge a little bit because you could be mad like this guy, supposedly the guy who sniped people. You know, we don't know if the story true or not, but you know, you could be upset as a cop. You could be a nice, good cop. You come up to the car, hey, let me get your license registration, and somebody, you know, they do whatever they do to you just because you're a cop. So I feel like that's the bad part about it right there. So you're making these people more nervous. So now they're more prone to pull out their gun or be more aggressive towards you when they pull you over, even though they was already aggressive before. They got more aggressive. Yes, because you know people are angry, and sometimes you need to make a statement, and whether it's good or bad, but you made a statement to let it know that this is not right and it shouldn't be done, even though the way they went about it probably was not the completely right way.
It's a
So
matter of perspective, right? Versus
that's
good or
why,
bad
right?
statements.
So that's why I say yes or
I
yes
honestly think
and no.
everything is relative when it comes to more like
And Maya's
your
gone.
more.
You
I
guys started up.
mean,
You froze up.
Yeah, we didn't hear anything.
uh,
Yeah.
wait,
She turned into Jamie.
Yeah.
I'm out here. You
can
switching
you hear me now?
places.
I
There
can
you
hear
go.
you
Yeah,
now.
go ahead.
Oh,
Okay, until
you can hear
Mike get
me?
that together.
Yeah, James, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. And we're talking specifically like on retaliation
We're
to
talking
police
about
or
what
like
is the
just
appropriate response when you want to rebel against your society, specifically speaking about people rebelling against police officers because they are our level of authority, well, street level of authority within the society.
you know what? Like honestly, I have no idea what I would
Come
say
on,
to that.
James. You've been given
No,
2 days to
no,
think
like
about
truth.
it.
No, I understand, but this
Mhm.
is much more than like a 2 day think about it process. Like clearly, this has been happening since way past Jim Crow and way past
Mhm.
like the beginning of America.
So you've been having a few
So
years to think
we
about then.
Your whole life, it sounds like.
exactly, and we still haven't come up with a solution. People
You
have done
haven't. We
marches.
have.
Have we
We
though?
have a
Because it's still
solution.
happening. Because it's still happening. We've done
No,
marches.
I
We've
need to
done
hear the solution.
sit-ins. We've
Wait.
done.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying I don't think he's saying like
That's not
come
what
up
I'm
with a
asking.
solution.
Yeah.
But what is your opinion? What do you
Yeah.
think?
What do you think on that?
No, I
You do,
understand that, but since we were offering up solutions, I was interested.
oh.
Um,
So
Yeah,
go ahead,
I
James.
mean, I'm
I
sure you have
mean,
some type of feeling, Jamie, of what you feel like. Okay, this is what I would do, or this is how I feel about the situation.
Yeah.
me personally, as far as like, if I was in that situation, what was his name? Philando? Philando? Is that how you say it? Like, he's armed in like an open carry state, and his girlfriend had him like on camera or whatever, had the police officer on camera. He was like, "Oh, like I told you not to reach for your gun or whatever, whatever." So, as far as that's concerned, like my first reaction would just be to protect myself, to be completely honest with you. Like as far as the retaliation or whatever goes, the Dallas thing, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I kind of understand the sentiments if that's what really happened. If it was really just like that lone shooter and he's just trying to take retaliation, whatever. I don't agree with it, but I understand. I see
Why
what's
don't you
going
agree with
on.
that?
I mean, I don't agree with taking anybody's life in the first place. Like just being out here killing somebody, murdering somebody.
See, that's what I'm saying. I think you're
I
missing
don't.
what I'm asking. It's not about the individual cops who died. It's about the cops represent an authority in our society to keep people where we want, where society wants them to be. Like
And I
Culture said,
understand.
if the government wants to issue
What?
martial law, it has nothing to do with those individuals walking down the street. It has
No,
everything to do with the badge that they carry to elicit the authority that the government gives them to
and I
tell you what you
understand
can and
that,
can't do. So that's what I'm
and I
saying. To say you're
understand
just
that.
killing innocent people,
But
like,
there,
that's separating the issue. Because, like I said, if we talk about every
I don't
individual,
think it is.
maybe
I don't
those
think
five
it
those
is.
individuals were bad people. Maybe there's good people. I don't know. I'm saying as a whole, how can we say society that's ran by the government is bad? That's the biggest threat to our freedom. And then when someone takes the opportunity to rebel against the society we all just in unison agreed on, imposes our
Correct.
freedom, then we say,
Okay.
well, we can't just start just randomly killing people. It's like that seems
No,
counterintuitive to
no,
me.
no, no. And I completely get where you're coming from. However, I think the way that that was gone about, like that's addressing the fruit of the problem, not the root of the problem.
Hmm.
Like the police and all this kind of stuff, these are all like it's not the system in and of it is the system, but the actual individual police officers, they're just like a part of the system. They're a
But you can't
representation of the
separate the
system.
two, can you?
I mean,
So that means it's only okay to
if
shoot
we're
at the
gonna do
cops
that,
that did the killings. Then that's okay. Would your opinion be different then?
again, I'm really not about killing people in general, but yes,
Hmm.
I would understand that one more so than
But you wouldn't
at
agree
a
with it, is
peace
what you're
rally.
saying.
I would understand it.
I
I
said, would
get
you
it.
agree with it? That's what I
If
said.
we went, I get it.
I just want a yes or no,
I
man. You can
get it.
say I
I mean,
don't know. That's fine.
I don't know if I agree. I really don't know if I agree with it or not, to be completely honest with you. Now, if we're talking about just like reacting and retaliating against the system in and of itself,
Hmm.
like why not see now we're getting into like heated territory. But
It's
there should
called the
be
real
like
underground for a reason, isn't it?
yeah, and that's true.
Okay.
And that's true. But if we're really gonna go at the system, like
Hmm.
go at something that truly is the system, it's like the representation of the system. So political buildings, CIA. I'm not doing anything. FBI, anybody listening? I'm not condoning this at all. I just want to go ahead and put that out there. Don't come at me if I get disappeared. Y'all know what happened. But if we're really gonna do anything about it,
Hmm.
go at like the actual representation of the system. Why not
Hmm.
talk about Senate buildings or like justice buildings or like courthouses or something like that? Like that would be
So,
my thing.
so you
But
talking
not
about bombing these places? Is that what you're saying?
no, that's not what I'm talking about.
So you said go
Time
at
to
it. I'm
keep the
trying to
debate
figure
all
out.
over
Completely good.
again,
I
huh?
I
mean,
was
I'm
no,
just
no.
saying.
Let me be clear. Let me be clear. I'm on
When you
my
say go
no,
at it,
no.
what do you mean by that?
Listen, no. If we're gonna like demonstrate, or if we're gonna like make any kind of like movement or whatever we're gonna do, or whatever they're gonna do, whatever happens, if we're really trying to get at the root of the issue, go to the root of the issue. That's all I'm saying.
And the
Like
courthouse is the root of the issue.
So
The
what's the
police
action you're
officers
gonna
that's
take?
aren't.
Is what
that
I'm trying
that
to figure
as
out.
far as I'm concerned,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
the
not
actual
understood.
system.
So what's the action you're gonna take?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Are you saying like people need to march here or hold them up from or not
Give me the
hold them
loot.
up
Give me
as
the
like with
loot.
a gun, but you know what I
Well,
mean?
what are you
Like
No,
talking
Why
about?
there you
are you so
go.
and
violent? You
and
talking about
and
blowing
that's
someone up and holding it up?
No, I'm trying to
and
get. No,
that,
we're
that
just trying to get him to explain what he's
Yeah.
saying. Because what he's saying
no,
is
and that's
he's
what I'm
being
saying.
evasive.
No, and that was the very beginning of my whole like
Mm,
speech or whatever is going on right now. Like I don't know what the actual
okay.
what's gonna work. I don't know. We've
Okay.
done marches, we've done
So he wants
speeches,
us
we've
to
done
go stand in
sit-ins,
front of the
we've
courthouse,
done
and then when he thinks about it a little bit more,
That's what I
he'll
say. He
let us
said
know
go
whether
at
to
the
go
city. I'm like, what
inside,
you
whether
gonna
to
do?
blow it up,
You
or
gonna
go
bring
back home.
lunch? You know what
Well,
I'm
he already said
saying?
we're not
I'm
blowing
just
it up. Don't put
So
that on
okay,
him.
so we ain't gonna blow him up. We ain't gonna shoot him at him. We're gonna go take him a nice hot cocoa and go talk to him and say, hey, what? This is what you need you to do. I mean, we could do that. It's real peaceful.
I'm just saying me
Hmm.
personally, I don't know what will work.
Okay, we
That's
got
all
you.
I'm saying.
Okay.
I
We
don't know.
got you.
But whatever demonstration or whatever that we do, I
Hmm.
would say just get to the root of the shut up. Just get to the you childish. But
Right.
just take it, to the to like the actual decision makers, to the actual
Mm-hmm.
like people in
Hmm.
authority. That's all I'm saying. Like
Okay.
Okay.
police, they do have like the everyday authority,
Mm.
but I think it needs to be brought directly to the senators and the
Hmm.
politicians, the
Hmm.
congressmen, the
So
mayors,
not
the
a
governors,
grassroots
whoever.
campaign. Okay, got you.
Right. Cohen.
What you think, C?
I don't know how you can properly retaliate, I guess, as oppressed people against the system. I know the whole thing with police. I mean, there are authority. You have to respect that authority. But I think when it comes to police, sometimes when they police, I guess, quote unquote, oppressed people or people that are, in the ghettos, I think you got various things that kind of comes like as far as our relations with the police. You got, first of all, I think you got policemen, not all, but you got some policemen who are not from these areas. So they already look at people who live in these areas as criminals. So if you police in a certain area, nice area, you're gonna look at those people as good people. But if you police in an area where you think all of these people are criminals, you're gonna have a heavy hand against them. And I also think it needs to be maybe within the police system how they, train these people how to properly de-escalate and like have conflict resolution when it comes to policing people in certain situations, because obviously that's not working too well. And I've had interactions with cops, and some of these cops are just fidgety. And I know when it comes to dealing with cops, you have to let them know they have the full control of the situation, because if they don't, they can react stupidly.
Let me ask
And
you
I
this,
don't.
Colton. If we all believe the government is the biggest threat to our freedom and the government is the people who employ the police officers, how can we ever expect or ever believe that there will ever be a time where they re-educate or retrain these people to de-escalate situations? When the government, we just said, is the biggest threat to our freedom, which means we believe that the government is taking its own interest higher than ours, and police doing what they're doing isn't interfering with what the government, their higher goals are to do. So how can we expect for that to ever change?
I have no idea, man. I'm just, maybe my only solutions possibly is
Hmm.
maybe they need to try to refigure certain things with the police department. I don't know if that's their goal, to try to have better police and civilian relations, but
Hmm.
I just threw out a few things. Us as people, we retaliated against the system. What is that going to change? I don't know. Maybe if we came together with our own dollars to change something. I don't have the answers, honestly.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of things in society haven't changed unless you affect someone's money. If you affect someone's money and lifestyle, then things change. Like
Hmm.
the Montgomery bus boycott back in the 50s and 60s. They ended up changing those rules as far as how we bus and can sit on the bus, because us as people, we stopped riding the bus, and that affected their money and affected the drivers and affected the business. So they had to change the rules.
Hmm.
So, but I don't have the
Well,
answers.
I was about to say
Maybe
that
my
might be a
answer is
little.
not making sense, but
It makes
So,
sense.
Yeah.
Colton, do you think that the reaction in Dallas, my man's taking his thoughts and his beliefs and retaliating against the police officers, you think that was right or was it wrong?
I don't think it was right. But every action has a reaction. So
Hmm.
let's say you're a big bully. If you keep bullying someone who is inferior to you, and they finally hit back and they come with a striking blow, it doesn't make it right. But that was the reaction to your action. So I'm not saying these things were bound to happen, but if you keep doing wrong, wrong is going to come back to you.
Hmm.
True, true. Okay,
Fair
Maya,
enough.
your turn.
I have no solution. Um, yes, do I believe that the way that he retaliated was wrong? Absolutely. Anyone who knows me knows I'm not for taking lives. I'm not for. That's just not the way I feel like you should go about it. How he should have, I don't know. How we should, as a society, go about it. I would hope we would go about it in a non-violent way. But other than that, I don't really have. I I don't even know where to go from here. Like,
Let me ask you this, Maya, and I'm addressing this to the whole group as well, but I'd like for you to start with this. In the history of the world, so I'm leaving this pretty open-ended. In the history of the world, have we ever seen anyone change or transition power and authority in a society without bloodshed?
no,
Ever in the history of the
we
world?
haven't. We
Mm-mm.
haven't.
So does that mean in order for things to change in America, like we're going to have to probably do the same thing that we've seen since history repeats itself? I mean, for even
Yeah.
for this country to be free, we just celebrated the 4th of July less than a week ago, right? I
Mhm.
mean,
Um.
so what does that mean?
So when I think about bloodshed and stuff like that, like that's the way most revolutions have started.
Every revolution.
And I'm not. I'm not sure if we're. I know we're in need of change.
Hmm.
Um. I'm not sure if we're to the extreme in where we need a full revolution. There are things that are going right, but there are a lot of things that are going wrong. So I'm not sure if it's now time where it's like, I don't know, the proletariat class is going to overthrow the bourgeoisie and we're going to like go into like communism. Like, I'm down for it. If we're going to go for it, like, let's go full out, like,
Oh wow.
Marxism.
Wow.
Let's just make it
Chill out,
happen.
Fidel. Chill out, Fidel. Chill out.
But I don't think that that's where this is going to go.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, I have a question for you, David.
Mhm. I
Do
didn't
you
give you my
think?
opinion, but I'll go ahead,
Oh,
Jay.
go ahead. Give your opinion.
No, no,
My
no. Go ahead,
bad. My
man.
bad.
Lots
Go for it.
hot takes, man.
Go
Hot take.
for it. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it.
Well, no, I was just gonna give a little quick story. I was pleasantly surprised. I went to North Park on Friday to get my shoes shined, and there was a police officer who
So
was.
bougie.
I know. He's gonna be one of the people we overthrow, and he got too much. I'm a proletariat. He's obviously part of the bourgeoisie.
First of all, as a man, you need to represent
That's
yourself
funny.
a certain type of way, and
Okay.
me shining my shoes is a part of me having a good
Why you can't do it
representation
yourself?
for myself, and my community. And I'm gonna tell you why. The same reason why I tell my pop, because it costs $2.50 at Nordstrom's, and it's not worth my time for me to do it for $2.50 so I can go to Nordstrom's.
Ooh.
So,
But
hey,
it's
that's
worth this other man
And
time
they
to do
do
it,
it
right?
for
Mario. You studied
And yeah, no,
economics, right? Marginal
Yeah.
utility. I can show you a supply and demand curve. We could go through the whole thing if y'all want to break it down. Anyhow,
He
as I
like
was walking back to my car,
$2.50 beneath him, but it's not beneath the guy that's doing it.
I didn't say it's beneath me. That's not what I said.
It's not worth his time, but the shoe shiner person, he was happy to have him.
That's his
That's
job, and he's
how he
actually a
Right.
really good guy. We had great conversations. I encourage him in some different business ventures he's trying to get into, and actually potentially investing in them. So again,
You are invested. You let him shine your shoes. There
no,
you
no, no.
go.
I'm not talking about that type of investment. I'm
$2.50
talking about
every
Right.
single time.
listen, just because y'all niggas, excuse me, just because a gentleman are upset
2.5 every time.
every time, and I'll leave a nice tip as well. Anyhow, as I was walking to my car, I had the Nordstrom bag in my hand. I still had my work clothes on, and there was a police officer like driving through the parking lot. And to my surprise, because I mean, Colton, you live in the city, you know, after the shootings, people have been very disoriented um,
Mhm.
because of that incident. So the police officer, he saw me, I saw him. He stopped, let down his window. So I'm already thinking it's going to be some static. And he waved at me and said, "Have a nice night," and then pulled off. And I said, wow, police obviously are feeling different today in the city of Dallas when it comes to approaching black men. So I thought that was a very interesting.
Do you
Uh,
It's
think?
all in the suit. It's
Do you think?
all.
Yeah, I was about to say. Do you think it would have been different if you had a Foot Locker bag and you had on some hoop shorts
my
and
J's or
Jordans and
something.
stuff with your
Mhm.
hoodie on,
All in the suit.
with a sweatshirt?
Well, A, it's too hot to have a hoodie or sweatshirt on. I don't know what it's like
I'm
in
sure that
Florida,
window would have rolled down, but it wouldn't have been his hand though.
uh,
Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know. All I know is that it was interesting. But to me, all I was gonna say is that I'm not giving my political view on any of these topics. But what I am going to do is I'm just going to be able to I'm going to give a skeleton and a framework to why I think whether I agree with somebody or not, I agree with their actions. So again, like I just said, I'm not for the Tea Party, but I'm for what they did. If you are within the confines of a system that you don't like and you agree on some things and not on other things, you separate yourself from that group but still hold your ideological views as well as add in new things that y'all collectively as a group agree in. Like I said, in the history of the world, like I asked you, Maya, there's never been a revolution, there's never been an authority shift, there's never been a power change at any point in time without internal revolution or external revolution, right? So if we go back to when if you look at what's going on in the Middle East, with Israel and all those countries, they internally lived with each other, didn't like something, so they fought about it. Versus if you look at the world wars, in Germany, we didn't like what they was doing, so we externally went in and got rid of that situation. It's never happened. It's never not going to
That's
happen.
exactly the way that went down. But
Right. So can I say this?
Go ahead.
So you know how okay, because we from the same spot. So
Yeah.
how people always say F the police.
Mhm.
If somebody from the hood that and they be like, yo man, I'm about to go apply to be a police officer.
Mhm.
All his boys are looking at him like what? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
They gonna look at him different. They
Mhm.
might be like, man,
That's for sure.
we can't hang with you, bro.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? That's how they do it. But
Yeah.
the thing is, everybody want to complain about what the police do. So why
Yeah.
you keep complaining about it? Why don't why don't y'all become the police officers and you police your own neighborhood,
Yeah. No,
right?
I feel exactly what
Then
you're
you will be less prone to want to kill each other because you're like, okay, I've been in his shoes before. I understand
talking.
where he's coming from. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You have more better understanding of
Yeah.
exactly, you know what I'm saying, what these people thinking and how they living.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if everybody just sitting back, so, you know, it's frowned upon to be the police, well,
Yeah.
then who gonna keep calling the police? The ones who really want to do it,
Yeah.
and if they so happen to be racist folks, then hey, look, they got the job, and you probably could have changed that, but you're so worried about somebody gonna look at you different
Yeah.
because you're police.
That's
You know
real.
what I mean?
Well, that goes back to C's prior point in terms of people not within the community, policing the community. And I think you're 100% correct that it does give you a different level of perspective being within that community and being from that community, right?
Okay,
As a,
so whether or not I trust the police, then like me deciding to go then be a police officer, like I don't see necessarily
well,
Well, I'm not saying
the
that.
correlation.
Okay,
no,
now
that's
I'm not
not, no,
saying. I'm not
that's not
saying.
the
Wait, wait,
I'm
correlation.
not
That's not the
wait, wait,
for
correlation.
listen,
that.
listen.
I
I'm
don't
not
have
saying that.
the mentality, the emotional capacity to do any of those
No,
things.
listen, no,
But
listen. It's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying okay. Now
Yeah.
since all this happened, everybody just some regular Joe that been working at McDonald's like, hey man, I'm about to go be a police now. Because of course they probably don't have
Yeah.
what they need to be a police. But I'm talking
what
about.
exactly do you need to be a police officer?
Well, hold on. Can I address
That's a
Mario's
good
question real
question.
fast? Oh my God, we could talk about that
I
for the
mean, I
next
can
hour
tell
and a
y'all,
half.
but you know,
Yeah, but let me address Mario real quick. So
if
what
you
you
really
asked
want
me,
to know.
Mario, I would say two things. The first thing is that I 100%, if someone who I knew who was close to me said, I'm about to go join the police, I would tell them two things. The first thing is that I would applaud them for wanting to be the change in the community that they want to see, and they want to start eliciting that change. I would 100% applaud them for that. But the second thing that I would say, going back to the overarching question, the government controls the police. So, like, I keep seeing a lot of things on social media that I like to see, and some of them I won't say because they're a little too explicit. But what they're basically saying is that if you're not going to speak out against the issue when it happens, you're just as much a part of the problem. And so what
Yeah.
I would caution that person to say is that you do want to be involved with the police, you want to become a police officer and help better influence the community and those relationships around you, but be cognizant of this fact, this system is bigger than you. And as much as you
Yep.
can make a small change, you're not going to make the overarching change. And if you really
Hmm.
want to address that, you need to look at and be preparing yourself to ascend within the police force or ascend within the local community in terms of politics, politically, to be able to actually address, as James said, what the real issue is. Because you being a B cop, as good as your intentions are, you still represent an oppressive force. And when things like this happen, that's addressed to you. And if you don't quit or if you don't speak on it out loud as a member of that force, you're just as much a part of the problem. And you're
Whoa,
becoming the sickness that you don't want to see in our society. And that's what
right?
I would say to that person.
But I'm not saying that. Oh, you just want to become a police officer now,
Hmm.
just because all
No,
this
I'm not
stuff
saying, no,
happened.
no,
And
no.
I'm
I'm
not
saying
saying all of a
I
sudden
don't
this
care
happened.
when.
Everybody just need to go
I
be
don't
police.
care.
I'm not
They could have
saying
said
that.
this
That's not
25
what
years
I'm
ago. I would have
saying.
said the same thing to them. This is bigger than
So,
you.
so
So,
That's true.
I'm just saying that I just know people, and I know how it is. That it's people even when you was in high school or in college and you took criminal justice as your major, and you wanted to become a
yeah.
cop. Now some of these
Yeah.
people got away from where they grew up at, and
Hmm.
they was able to look past the fact that
Hmm.
that people that they know might not look at them the same way if they do it, and they went on and did what they need to do.
Hmm.
But the ones that's still there around these same people, let
Hmm.
these people influence their mindset of why I shouldn't go do it. First of all, they probably need police anyway if they letting that happen to them. But
Fair enough.
the fact of the matter is that, if they would have continued on what they want to do,
Hmm.
maybe it wouldn't, I'm not gonna say be so bad, but you would have these people that's governing their own city. I mean, their
Yeah,
own,
no, I get
local
what you're saying, but I think
people.
it's,
That's
I
all
think
I'm
it's
saying.
bigger than that. I think yeah, at the local level, yeah, it may start that way, but when
But you
it
need to
hits
take
the
small
fan,
steps. Sometimes you need to take the small steps to get to the
no, I
bigger
agree
issue.
that. But
That's
you
just like
always,
you always talk about business, right?
yeah.
And and always people always say, well, you got to start from the bottom. You got to start from somewhere just to get your foot
Hmm.
in the door.
Hmm.
You can't always just go straight to the top to get it all done. But if you
No,
do
that's real.
start with the little stuff, maybe this translates to something bigger.
Hmm.
And that's
Well,
more than
that's
just becoming a cop. That can be other things that you
but
can
that's
do.
what I was saying. Yeah, if you're gonna start there, be willing and knowing that you need to continue to move forward with that, not just that's just the only step that you take. That's all that I will say to that. But go ahead, James. You was gonna ask me something, or Maya, you was gonna say something about. I apologize, I forgot what your point was.
That was Jamie. He had a question for you.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, you actually kind of answered it. I was just gonna ask like if you think that if it's possible to have like a substantial change without bloodshed, without like a
No,
revolution, without a war, whatever, whatever,
no,
No.
at all.
because the reality is that in any society, regardless of what religion is the most prominent in that society, whatever, whatever, people don't want to give up power. And when you give up power, you give up money, and you give up what makes you high standing in your society. Nobody's coming off of that without a fight. Never have, never will. That's
Okay.
my opinion, but I also think historically we can back that up. So,
I
No, I
totally
mean
agree.
definitely, definitely. But even in this day and age, like in America, in our modern America, whatever, where
mhm,
voting and all this kind of stuff, vote or die.
mhm,
Like you don't think we can like vote in the change that we want to see? We can't. You don't
absolutely
think?
not. Absolutely
Hmm.
not.
No.
You said no too, Colton?
Yep, I agree with David. No.
I'm gonna tell you something. Somebody, one of my OGs said this to me the other day. He said, "Listen, as long as this fact remains, we're gonna always have issues in this country. All five of us need to remember that our people came over here in chains on a boat. As long as that's still a fact of life, we're not gonna change that ever. Like the people who brought us over here had because of their power. The reason why we was able to get them out of power is because of the Civil War. That's a fact. And then we had to continue with the Civil Rights Movement, which also enlisted more of our bloodshed. We still came over on chains and boats. That's the reality, and the people who are in power are going to want to always maintain that. So as
Okay,
soon as
so
you
let's
start to do this, we got to
so
get you
let's
back down.
so let's go back to what you were saying before about we all agree that the government was the number one that as
Absolutely.
far as our freedom, right?
Hmm.
So all this bloodshed gonna keep happening. Everybody, people gonna be getting killed and dying. And all this.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, government still running stuff. What is that gonna do?
Hmm. Well, uh, I'm not saying that you need to kill the government. What I am saying is that you need to
Nobody
any
don't want to
move.
say it. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
no, 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 no,
I'm
no,
just
no, no,
saying
no.
though.
This is what I'm saying. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like um, within the Civil War, the general over the both armies never died. The people did, right? Their underlings died. Those people
Hmm.
did, but they had to come to an agreement once they realized their side lost. So you don't have to kill the president or the leader of the other person's party to get the change you want.
But if they don't care about you, then what?
Okay.
They ain't gonna work here if you
But they
dying
do.
though.
What I'm saying
But
is
to
that.
Mario's point, but to Mario's point, he was
Mhm,
talking about the police,
mhm,
the people from your community, like
mhm,
joining the police
mhm,
and climbing up the ranks, being the
mhm,
change that everybody wants to see in the world, blah blah blah, whatever, whatever.
mhm.
So you don't think like people in our community, people that we know, people that we trust, whoever, like it doesn't matter, get involved in politics, whether it be local, national, whatever. They don't. You don't think that we can change the system based on the politics without bloodshed?
I'm gonna pull a C. No.
Well,
Okay.
here's the thing though, because like,
Okay.
what change are you trying to see? Because I guess like I feel like we've voted in change before. Um, so I guess it depends on like what is the change like you say that you don't believe that we can vote it in. So what is the specific change that you're going for?
Oh, the specific change that I'm going for, there needs to be a complete
Right.
overhaul of the system. 100%. It's
And
not equal. It's never
what?
been equal. Separate but equal.
It sounds like a
Everything.
coup.
Yeah,
This
like,
is
like
not a
so
coup.
like what
Segregation
are
No,
you trying
in
to
the
see though?
integration.
Okay. You sound like a warlord.
I'm not a war. No, I'm just being
Like
100.
low key though, because I'm sitting over here like, oh my god, like
Yeah. FBI gonna shut us down. Yeah, like it's oh god. Oh
I
god.
ain't said nothing like that. I wasn't talking about bombing or nothing. Y'all might get got, but
What you
I'm,
mean,
I
Right.
ain't
yeah?
worried.
Right.
No,
I
It's
ain't,
all
I
about
ain't,
right
this
to
is
I
do.
ain't, I ain't
RICO.
worried about it.
It's a RICO case now. You involved too.
uh-uh.
Guilty
I ain't
by
worried about
I'm
it.
affiliation.
not. I'm not part
You
of this
just
I'm not a co-conspirator here. I will sell
okay.
y'all out. So,
All right.
so y'all know I'm a
Wow.
snitch
Okay.
and I'm
Okay.
a.
Well,
Miles, the government informant.
If that's the case, me and Mario gonna do our own podcast then, because I know he's not gonna say nothing.
I was about to say, does
hey,
Maya not have like
you
custodial
know,
control of
I
the
ain't,
entire account?
me, I
I'm
ain't worried
pretty
about it.
sure.
Exactly.
I'm
No,
on both
Maya.
sides.
Edit my
I
courses
could,
out.
I could be on both sides.
In terms of what I want to see, Maya, I'm not saying that I'm trying to see any change, although there's a switch I'm trying to see. But to specifically answer your question, what I would like to see is a fair and equal society in which there are absolute checks and balances on every level in our society. So no, you can't continue to be a senator for 15 terms, 25 terms. Okay? That to me, that's not a balance within our system. Supreme Court judges, you get to stay on this thing for the rest of your life or until you die or choose not to
But
be
that's
there. That's
technically
not a
that's
check.
the only one though. Technically that's the only
Can I
one.
finish answering Maya's question?
I'm
Thank you.
saying technically that's
She
the
asked
only
me what
one.
I want to see. That's what I want to see. I want to see fair and equitable opportunities for everyone in our society. I have no problem with capitalism, and I understand that there are obviously negative effects of capitalism. But when only a specific group of people, going back to the inception of our country, so I can say it, and it's not a racist statement, white males who were property owners are given all the capital, they begin a society that's not capitalist. That's white males who own property deciding where they want to distribute their capital. Everybody else catch up when you can. That's not a fair and equitable society. So again, we'd have to
Still
go
playing
back to
catch
the
up.
inception. Exactly. No, everyone's playing catch up, even women. I mean, this isn't just a black issue. This isn't just a
Even
Hispanic issue.
They're
I
playing
think
catch up
we are
since
playing
1865.
bigger
This is what I'm
version of
saying.
catch-up.
So this is what I'm saying. This isn't just a black or white issue. White males, that's a very specific, white males who are property owners, that's a very specific group of society, especially within those times. So what I would like to see is we go back to that. You read, not necessarily
I
read
thought
the
that we were going back in time. Like
no. I'm saying go back to when we began our society. Everyone is on the same playing field. Now, what you choose to do with that is that is the GOP thing: personal accountability, personal responsibility, pulling yourself by your bootstraps. Then we can say that. You can't say that now when literally we had white males, property owners, 3/5 compromise. Like,
But
come on, bro. Like, stop. That's not fair, not equal. And again, those people who were given that capital and who have now over time caught up to attain that capital aren't coming off of that without a fight. And you know
okay,
what?
so like
I
even
don't
if there
blame
was a
them.
whole bunch of bloodshed
yeah,
and stuff like that, how do we even get back to that? We can't. So like moving
exactly.
forward, how do we? I guess like, if we have a time machine,
After
maybe we could go do that, but we can't.
Mhm.
after the revolution, after the bloodshed, whoever wins is gonna be that new like super specific sect of society who's gonna be the new white male landowners, right?
No,
Like
not necessarily. Not necessarily.
whoever
No,
wins
I
this
get what you're
impending
saying.
battle, this
In an
impending
absolute
bloodshed, they're gonna
sense,
be the new
in an
people.
absolute sense, yes, you are correct. But the person who's leading the revolution doesn't mean, like, so for instance, if Dr. King had his way and had have lived to see that through, does that mean he would have turned into an egotistical person who was just taking advantage of the fact that he was able to overcome and was able to get what he wanted done in society, and he become the head person, and he's just gonna take all the fame and notoriety? Do you think that's what would have happened?
Eventually, he's gonna die though,
No,
right?
yeah, you didn't answer the question because what you're saying is whoever
I
wins the
don't know if
war.
he
No,
would.
no, no. I'm saying okay. So okay, fine, bet. In an ideal utopian society,
I
cool.
didn't
Martin
ask
Luther
that.
King. No,
I
I'm
asked
saying
you.
no. I'm
I
answering
don't
your
want to hear it
question.
in
Can
an
I answer your
ideal
question?
Let him
society. I'm
Can
finish.
asking
I?
you
No,
if you
because this
think
is
he
what
had to
you're
see
saying.
his mission
This is
through.
exactly what you're saying.
No, that's not
You
what
If
no, I
created
didn't.
some
Martin
sort
Luther
of
King, you
ideal
did.
society there.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
No, no, I
had
didn't create
Martin
that. What
Luther
I
King
asked was,
It
lived
was
he
actually
and
like
asked
a
me a
really
achieved his
question.
extreme,
dream,
scary
He asked
no,
me a
utopia.
that's
question. I
exactly
gave him a
what you're
real
saying.
example of somebody. We can go back to John F. Kennedy. We can go back to Robert F. Kennedy. We can even look at Lyndon Johnson, someone who did live through that.
Again,
They were able
again,
to get
again.
something done. They didn't turn
In
into
a
power
perfect
hungry. Well,
society.
three of them died, but one of them was able to stay alive. And I don't think Lyndon B. Johnson turned into a head case and just said, "Let me just take over, and now I'm gonna keep pushing other things through." That's not what happened.
Because we have
Okay.
checks and balances within our government. He couldn't
We
have
have
done
checks and balances within our government. No, we don't.
that. You said no?
No,
Yes,
absolutely
we
not.
do. You just said it earlier about the president and the
Is there
Senate
not
and the
this thing
House and
called
all
like the
that. So is that not a checks and
Constitution and like
balances?
the
I'm like, I
amendments
was
and
like,
I
everything?
mean,
Like
I'm
wow.
just saying though.
maybe all my government classes
Excuse
just
me.
like went out the
Well, I look at
window.
checks and balances and I look at
I don't know.
accountability. They're not the same thing. I
I
look at those
clearly
as two
don't
separate
know.
issues. So,
Well, she said checks and
Yeah,
balances,
I
not
just
accountability.
okay,
wasted like
checks and
four
balances, fine.
years of government and all
Mm.
kinds of social studies classes in high school and college because we don't have
Shame
checks
on
and
you.
balances now.
Shame.
Obviously,
Yeah.
from the way
Oh
David
my
talk, is
goodness.
all it's only checks and balances he knows the one he balances his balance sheet. Only one he know. Cause I mean, for real, everything that we talked about so far, he goes back to capitalism, money,
Business.
business, and you're like, okay, okay.
So do
I'm
you
not
not
saying
think
I'm
that
not saying what you
capitalism and
say don't
money
make
is what
sense, but
drives the
I'm just
government to
saying.
do what they choose to do?
Say it again.
You don't think capitalism and money is what drives the government to do the things that they want to do? We always say about the money.
Money does play a
So
big role in a lot of things.
you said it does
It
not.
does. I said it does
No, no.
play a
Okay,
big
so you
role in a
say a
lot of
big role.
things
What
in
is a
government.
big role? 50%, 90%? I mean, what does that
I
mean?
ain't gonna put a percentage on it. Just know that
You
again.
said a
Exactly the
big
number.
role. What does a big
Okay,
role
can
mean
I
to
can I
you?
not agree? I'm agreeing with you.
No, I'm not agreeing with you, but you're saying I'm just bringing up business because all I care about is money on balance sheet. But what I'm saying is that we all
But
know
that
that's what does
was
it. Like Maya
well.
said with the antitrust, right? They broke up all those things, but all those things got back together. Well, the government had allowed that to happen, the same way the government allowed to take off contribution limits to people's political campaigns. So
No, I'm
obviously
not.
it's about the money.
I'm not saying that what you're saying is
Oh
wrong.
God, he
And
just made my point.
nothing that you said was wrong. Then what you when you explain something, you make sense. I'm just saying that you always go back to all your examples are from a business minded standpoint. That's it.
Well, if you follow the money, I mean,
I mean, that's all I'm
You
saying.
explain something, you make sense. That's a good place to be. Where you explain
Like, I mean, hey,
Yeah,
thank you for
that's
the
real.
compliment, Mario. I appreciate it.
like if I'm gonna tell you something, I'm gonna have to put a joke in there real quick because sometimes I don't take none of this stuff serious. But it is what it is.
Okay, Kevin Hart.
All right.
Maya, what else is on our docket for today in terms of
We
questions?
have some stuff, but
We out of
we
time.
running low on time. But I think that we could, maybe we can all answer this question real quick. What does
Okay.
it mean to be black? Well, what does it mean to be young and black within the U.S.? Things that are going on. What does that mean?
Let's go, money making Sunny.
I honestly, I hate to do this because I don't like to contradict myself, but I'm gonna turn it to Jamie. I honestly don't know what it means to be young or black in America
Ooh.
because it always interests me and it intrigues me. And granted, I do make fun of Mario and Maya for being light skinned, and I shouldn't do that, but I do it as a joke. But what I've come to learn, not learn, what I've come to see, which is why I don't have an answer to this question, is people don't define being black by the color of your skin, but by this subset of ideologies from a mindset culturally that if you fit into, you're black. If you don't, you're not. So if African American and you want to play golf and wear Dockers and Sperry's and cargo, what I'm saying, and that type of stuff, well, he's not black. He's not one of us, right? So a guy like a OJ or something like that,
If
right?
you get pulled over by the police, then aren't
No, no,
you
no,
one
no,
of us?
no. But that's not what I'm saying though. If you ask the average person whether they're black or white, you would say, oh, he's not acting black. What does that mean? So if someone can act black or not act black, I don't know how to define what it means to be black in America because we can't even define what it means to be black. You know what
That
I'm
kind of go
saying?
back to what we said earlier about
So
you, the police waving at you because you had your suit on and had the groceries bag versus if you would have had your chains
absolutely,
on and some
exactly.
hoop
So I
shorts.
don't have an answer to
Kind of
that
sort
question
of yeah.
because even as a race, we define people who are black as not acting black, which makes no sense to me. So I can't even answer that question.
But you just said they are black.
No, I think that they're black, but apparently,
I
you
think
know,
if you got enough, okay.
no, I'm just
Go
saying
ahead,
that's
Maya.
my
If you
opinion.
would.
I just don't know what to say about that because what I think it is obviously isn't the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
But
Other
I
people
asked
think
you what
so.
you thought it was.
I don't know.
Christ.
Don't let him off the hook. Make him answer. Make him answer.
All right,
All
real,
right.
That's
what you
not
think?
that's not what I think it is. This is just
Grill
a
him.
society. No,
What
bro.
is it?
What do you think it is? That's a very specific question with a very specific answer.
All right, well, you tell us
So
what you think it is then, since you keep talking.
Honestly, I halfway agree with him, but that is actually,
I guess when
but
I talk, it does
but
make sense, Mario.
but that's actually my answer though. Like, what I think it is to be like young and black in America is like it's almost like a constant dichotomy. Like everybody hates us like all the time, but at the same time, everybody loves everything that we do. Everybody always wants to be us. They're like, oh, the new dance craze is this, that, or the third. Or this is like the cool new style. Or this is the cool new music, whatever, whatever. And so they want to do that. They want to be a part of that, but they don't want everything else that comes with it. I think like the perfect summation of it is Paul Mooney. He was like, everybody want to be a nigga, but don't nobody want to be a nigga. Like that's what it is to be young and black in America.
So what I'm gonna say is, it's to be young and black is to be it's confusing, and
Hmm.
that kind of goes off about what both of y'all say, because, like I said, because somebody act a certain way, they ain't black, or somebody listen to a certain music, they ain't black, right? But then when you have other races, that try to embrace our blackness, then it's like, oh, you ain't black. It's always something, right?
Can I ask you one quick question? Is it that they're
What?
embracing our blackness or embracing what they think blackness is?
Okay, I'm talking about genuine people. I ain't talking about the people who just do it because they think it's
Okay, no,
cool.
I'm just asking a
That's
question.
something different. Yeah,
Okay.
you got the ones that think it's cool. Oh, I want to be like this
Hmm.
or whatever. You'll listen to rap music, do all this stuff. And you're like, what they talking about? I don't know. You don't know. You just like the way it sounds, right? But yeah, I think that's what it's just confused because nobody knows. Even the black people, they don't even know. Obviously, because y'all two don't even know. But
Okay.
I'm just saying, it's to be young and black. Nobody really knows. It's so many different things, you know,
That's
that
good,
can
Marv. That's
equate
real.
to.
That's
Yeah.
real. See?
Ah, man, it can mean a multitude of things. I think to be young, black, and a male in this society, depending on how you look at it, someone else who's not of that could look at you as an endangered species. So, gotta kind of have to be cautious, especially if you're dealing with police. You have to work twice or three times as hard as maybe your white counterparts to make it in society, especially if you come from an impoverished background like yourself, David, to get to where you are. Still, it's a unique position, especially if you're in your 20s, because you're still trying to figure your way out through society, and then you see apparent racism sometimes. So it's like, man, like how do I make it? Especially like if you're in the hood, if you have to do illegal things to get money, you got to try to evolve the try to dodge the 3 count strike so you don't get in jail, go to jail, so you can't provide for your family, then become statistics to where you can't get a job. So it's a multitude of things. Not everybody black, not everybody who's black comes from those backgrounds, but I mean it's like I said, it's various things. You have to be cautious. You have to work very hard. Uh, I don't know. Maybe when you're around certain people, you got to tone it down because we're considered the
Oh
dominant people,
man,
so
yeah,
you don't want to be too aggressive to someone and they freak out, and especially
yeah,
with cops. Like I told you, I've had interactions with cops and they were fidgety when I dealt with them, so I had to let them know they were in control so they don't react stupidly. So it means a lot of things, man. It means also we're the curator of culture in this society and what's hip, what's new, what's popping.
tastemakers.
The tastemakers. It means a lot of things, man. It depends on how you want to look at it, man.
That's a good answer. Go ahead, Maya.
Good, good.
Well, Colton talked on being young, black, and male. Um, I mean, I was just talking about being young and black, but I get how you can throw that into it.
So how about you talk
Oh,
about the other side of it?
I would
oh,
love to hear your perspective, young black and female.
it's being forgotten.
Hmm.
It's being kind of like overlooked in general, having to grow up fast, having to be cautious just like you guys have to be. It's a lot of things. When Colton was talking about toning down, it's so crazy that like we all knew what he was talking about though. Like
Hmm.
even folks that let's say are not like abrasive by nature but are black, you still feel yourself having to tone down who you are. And that's crazy. I find
Hmm.
myself always trying to be
That's me.
like positive, even though I can't necessarily say that I'm like the most like positive person, but I find myself like I try not to be quick to anger. I try to be like, even when I'm upset, I try not to let people see it because I don't want to be that angry black woman. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so I find myself almost overcompensating in other areas,
Hmm.
so that I don't fit into stereotypes of what we are. So like Colton said, like he tones it down so he doesn't come off as aggressive. I don't hold Colton to be an aggressive person, but I understand that we have to do things like that. So
So, so,
I don't think
so,
anyone
would,
like Maya is an angry person, but
Hmm.
you
so,
know,
so, so would y'all say this would go for other races too, right?
huh?
When you say tone it down, back to what you said about you don't want to put yourself in the stereotype, so you not say being fake, but you act a certain way, right? Like you
Hmm.
tone it down. Do y'all think that go for other races as well?
That they have to do that?
Yeah.
I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Not if you
yeah.
white, no.
You said
Heck,
no.
heck
You talking
no.
about do they have to tone it down?
Okay, maybe
Well,
maybe not tone it down, but back to what Maya was saying about putting herself into the stereotype. Is that only do you feel like that's only a black problem, or is that everybody's problem?
I think there are other races who have those. And when I say races, I do mean races that are not white. I'm being very
So
specific
other
about that.
minority groups.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm very
yeah.
specific about that. But I think that the difference is that that's something that's in their head that may hinder them in some areas, but societally doesn't stop them from achieving a lot of things. Whereas our plight is much more evident both internally and externally. So, for instance, I read a lot of articles about college education, and one of the things they always talk about is what a lot of Asian people have been doing is changing their names to an Americanized name to put on their applications for college so that they don't get stereotyped as being an Asian and having to have over a 4.0 GPA and having a perfect ACT score. And they've shown statistically how people who have had Asian sounding names and don't have a certain, GPA level, et cetera, are getting less admitted to college versus people who are switching their names and then they're considered something else. So yes, I do think that it is the other races do think that, but again, I think them thinking it is more internal and externally it affects them somewhat. When you black, no, that it's just because, like I said, our society again, we came over in chains and ships. No one else has that history. So externally, that's always something that's in our society that's against us, and you have to be cognizant of that 100% of the time. Like Colton said, 100% of the time. When you're dealing with police, ain't no today I'm not gonna think about that. That could be the last day that you walking around.
Dealing
So
with anybody really stays true.
that's also true. But I don't think any other minority
Yeah.
group 100% of the time like, oh, I gotta be on. Like, no, I would disagree with that.
Oh yeah,
And I
you
may be
can't take no
insensitive.
days off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Can't take no days off.
I like almost all the way agree with that, save two minority groups. I would say right now, like Middle Easterner
Yeah,
people.
well, yeah.
Like I think right now, I think they kind of have like very similar problems to what black people go through.
Mexicans too. I mean, they go through it too.
I would disagree with
In some
Mexicans
ways,
and
but not
Hispanic
fully.
people.
How you figure that?
Cause a lot of Hispanic people can pass. A lot of Hispanic people can like white pass, and
Well,
they
we
can
ain't
be
talking
like,
about. Don't talk about the. I'm
until
talking about Mexican, not
He
the
said he was
Hispanics. That's
about to say Mexican. I know he was. He
listen.
was about
no,
What like
he was about to say not them. The Mexican
listen.
Mexican. I know
I'm
that's what
not
he was
talking
about to
about.
say.
no,
I'm talking about white Hispanics. I'm talking about the Mexicans. You know what I'm talking about.
See?
no, I feel what you.
Like
I
for real
understand what
though.
Mario,
you're
you
saying.
can't be making politically incorrect statements like that on our
Listen,
podcast.
man. Listen. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
I mean,
I'm not
Dominicans,
No,
you
even
got
I
Puerto
gonna.
completely
Ricans, you got,
no,
Haitians
and I
technically are
completely
considered
understand what
Hispanic,
you're
but
saying,
I
but
ain't talking about the ones that can
like
pass. Like
Hispanic.
you got the
No,
Hispanic
no,
ones
yeah,
too. You wouldn't know. You would think they white
no,
people,
I
but they
get
ain't.
it. I get it. But I
Okay.
think they have like another thing going for them is one, they can't white pass, which is my like first point. But secondly, um, like they have like a geographical thing going on too. Like if we're talking specifically Mexicans or Puerto Ricans or whoever, like they have their like motherland right here. Like it's close enough to home. And they have like all the immigration populations and everything that are still like feeding into this.
I think
So
it goes
like
back to
as
what I
far
was
as
saying, James. We
Texas and
came over
Florida and
on,
California, like they have all these people still
no,
coming over
okay.
to kind of support them. The
But
other
it's not
group that
even
I was
that.
gonna
Like I
say,
said, we
We
came
can
over
talk
on
about the
changing
support.
ships, and they made laws specifically to keep us down. So what I say
no,
that
no,
to
yeah,
say is
yeah,
that yes, no, what I'm saying is that yes, they have to think about that as well. But because laws and our country's foundation wasn't built on keeping them oppressed, they're not the number one priority of the
exactly.
government and the system. Black
And
people
that's
are the number one priority against the
Right.
system.
I
That's a
mean,
and
fact.
that
that's
makes
why I said
sense.
that's why I
So
said I have like two. I almost
yeah, no, now
all the
Middle
way
Eastern people,
agree.
yeah, they can't
Yeah,
go in the
Middle East.
airport.
Yeah, I almost all
Yeah,
the way agree with what you said. But
yeah.
Middle Eastern people
I did
and
forget
like
about them,
Native
and I
Americans
apologize. I was
and
thinking
Native Americans,
long term in America, but yes, right now, oh yeah, for sure. If your name
yeah,
is,
any
if
kind of
if
yeah,
you
yeah,
if you got something something wrapped around your head or some type of headdress, and you start you bow down and pray, it's not sweet
Middle
out here.
name, really.
if you face east, yeah. If you face
It's
east when you
not
pray,
sweet out
like
here.
you're having a problem.
And y'all talk about me saying Mexicans. Look what y'all saying.
No, that's
No,
not. That's
no,
a true. That's not
Wow.
that's
politically
right.
incorrect.
He
You know?
did say
Politically incorrect, but it said
there's a
if you're
problem.
Arab, it's not good over here. I
But
didn't
look
say
though, y'all
that.
said
What I
Middle Eastern
said
people.
was
Some people are Middle Eastern that was born over here, and not necessarily mean they Muslim.
I didn't say that
Okay,
about being
that was
Muslim.
my
Their
bad. That was
name.
Y'all
my
talk
I did
about praying and all that
I
type of
did
stuff.
I
That's
did. That was my
Muslim
fault.
food. What you
That was
talking
my
about?
fault. I did bring that up. I did bring that
Wearing
up, and that's
aprons
my
on their
bad. I
head. He said
apologize.
I
that.
just wanted to point
I
out that
apologize for that one.
neither Colton nor I have made these statements. It's completely y'all. Right, Colton. Way to
Yeah,
be
we got the
flat
FBI mad
over
at
here.
us. We got Middle Eastern people mad at us. Like, yeah, this
I
is a touchy
apologize. I'm
I'm
subject.
saying,
scared to post this. Like, good lord.
But
can
but yeah,
I?
like my two things was like Middle Eastern people and like Native Americans, because Native Americans have had virtually like the same plight that Black people have had since the
Um,
beginning of America.
Yeah.
yes, but it
Minus
was
like
short lived. At least
actual,
they,
technical,
at
literal
least. Never
slavery.
mind.
No, 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 no. Not
Oh, well, they
short
had
lived.
slavery, but they weren't just brought here through like the Middle Passage. I
They
think
was
that's
already
probably
here,
the
you
biggest,
know,
Yeah,
you
and
know.
yeah, yeah,
they got their land taken from them.
And I'm not,
yeah.
yeah. So
I mean, I think I was watching a TV show the other day on Viceland,
But
and
hold on,
it
real quick,
said
James. Are
like,
you saying this in terms of that they're still having these? They have to turn it on every day and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what you're saying?
I just want to point out we were talking about Black women, and yet again we've been
oh
overlooked
God,
in this
yeah, we did it again.
That's
We did it
James.
again. Oh
Oh,
man, my bad.
feeding, feeding through
Yo, Black
exactly.
women,
But I
I'm
just
so
wanted to point that
sorry.
out.
Black women, I love y'all.
That's
But
true.
see, we've
Black
been
women
saying black
all around
people
the
though. We
world,
ain't been
I
saying
love
black
y'all.
men.
I
Well,
truly
it was just
believe,
like,
yeah, my
No,
fault.
Yeah.
so
Please
there you
We
go.
proceed.
I
we
just
Yeah.
no, we can continue talking. I just wanted to point out. I was like, damn, we were really talking about the young Black female. And I was like,
Oh
I just talked
God,
about how we
yeah.
was overlooked and forgotten.
God, yeah.
we got
what? Let me
That
ask you this.
hurt.
Hold on, Maya, clarify.
I
Why do
was
you
just
think
talking
that
about
you're?
that the other day.
What do you mean by overlooked and forgotten?
So a lot of times when they talk about Black people,
Hmm.
they're really talking about like they'll talk about like statistics on Black folks, but really they're really talking about Black men, or you know they we're often just like lumped together, and then when anything goes wrong, a lot of times like there's a lot of things that talk about the Black men, but there's nothing that ever talks about his female counterpart. So it's just kind of like we're just kind of here to be here. Like it just kind
So,
of feels
Yeah.
like.
so I would ask you this. So the first thing is that, and as I've had this conversation, it made me think about this. So if you go back to slavery, right? Black women, were taken advantage of and abused and all these other types of things, right? So they suffered a lot as well, right? But at the same time, black men were being castrated, being killed off, being,
Black
you,
women were killed off
Black
too.
women were killed off,
hold on.
raped.
No,
Like that. I mean,
can I
Okay,
there's a
finish
okay.
what
lot.
I
let,
was
There's,
gonna
let
say?
him
there's a lot
let him
going
let him
on
finish.
there. I
Can
just
I
want to
get the
put that
point
out
out?
there. You made it
Let him
seem a
finish real
bit
quick.
like,
I didn't make it seem like that. I wasn't
One-sided
finished
on
saying
that piece.
nothing.
Like I'm telling.
all
It
right,
might listen. It might be the rain. Might be the pot of gold at the end. Let's just listen to what he got to
Okay.
say.
all right.
Thank you. When I'm
You
saying
right,
killed
Mario.
off, I'm saying
You
in
right.
terms of like when y'all seen Django when they had the Mandingo warriors like fighting against each other and all that type of stuff. That's what I mean by killed off. Used as livestock, used as for a sport for champion. That's what I mean. I'm saying at the same time, concurrently, black men and black women in this country were both enduring a lot of things. Okay, so in terms of you saying you've forgotten, that's why I'm asking you this specifically, Maya. As we've gotten away from that and civil rights and stuff like that, to me, it feels like black men are specifically targeted. And I'm not saying this because I'm a black male. I'm just saying black men have been the specific target. Like I'm seeing black men get arrested, being shot, being all these things. I'm not seeing that same thing happening
They're not
with black
talking
women.
about it.
No, no, no,
Sandra
and
Brown
that's
was
what I'm asking.
arrested.
Hold on. That's what I'm asking.
Killed. Like, and so I think there's examples of everything, and I do understand that you guys are like to an extreme. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like, oh, like I'm not worried about y'all. No, I fear for the Black men. I fear
Mm-hmm.
for each and every one of you guys. Like,
Hmm.
but at
Don't
the
feel
same
for me.
time, there's a lot of things that are affecting the Black women. Maybe not like the fact that you guys are being killed off. What does that affect our community?
Yeah,
You know what I'm
for sure.
saying? Like, so,
Well,
Mm-hmm.
70% of
oh,
all
what?
black, 70% of all African American children born today are born in a single parent household. So that stat already speaks for itself.
And
Right.
so there you go. So I feel like we're so focused on. So yes, okay, the killings and stuff. The aftermath is what the Black woman has to deal with. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
She has to deal with, okay, how do I put my family back together? How do I, like, in a society where women are still being paid less, how do I provide for the, and I know there's a lot of things that we just like, it's like,
Right.
oh, well, the Black man, don't get me wrong, like I said, I fear for y'all, but it's just like that in that aftermath, you look to your grandmothers, your aunts, your moms, and they get stuff done. But how much harder is it?
That's
So
true.
how do we go about not forsaking you guys, for a better word?
You know, I don't. At this point, like I don't even know.
Yeah,
I almost feel like we
that's a
we
whole
we've
nother
talked
topic.
I
about,
think
yeah. It
I
really
feel like
is.
That's a
I feel
whole
like
nother
Because
it's
they've
topic
done
for a whole
these
settings.
nother day.
psychological studies on black men and how like they deal with racism and being oppressed and
Hmm.
whatnot. But they have not really done too much about women.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
on the
Well, after
other
you get that
hand,
JD, go get that PhD, and you start
I
being.
actually saw like I saw this article online, and it was talking about like online dating or whatever, and it was talking about it was kind of funny, but it really wasn't. Like it was talking about like all the big like Match.com and Tinder and all these other ones, and it was like
at the bottom
black
of the
dude,
poll.
yeah, and it was like black dudes get online and
The name of the
like they
website was
always
called Black Dudes Get Online.
No, he's
no
saying when they
man,
get
listen
online
listen
on these
Oh,
listen.
dating
oh,
websites.
okay.
When black dudes like get on these dating websites, they'll like go on and they'll
Mm.
like try like they'll go out of their way to like match with like white women and Latino women and Asian women and this, that, and the third more often than they will try to match with like a black woman.
See,
And like
I
Well,
don't know how true
actually,
that is,
speaking with
but
no,
and
okay,
like
wait. They've done
no,
statistics.
I mean because
So here's the
nowadays,
thing
yeah, there's
with
like
like,
there's
sorry.
we say that
So
statistic
speaking
is
on to
true.
like Jamie was saying, no, like this is like a legitimate thing. They have the two groups that are least likely to get matches on Tinder, who are least likely to find
That's
love
good.
online. Okay, no. Here's the
why is
thing.
that
At
good?
the bottom
What?
of the
Do
at
you
the
know what
bottom of
Tinder is? Tinder is a way for you to be thotty out here.
Hold
So
on,
I'm at
wait.
my
Let her
point.
finish. Let her
No, no,
finish.
no,
So
but
you
still,
Let
don't
her
have
like
to be a
finish.
thought.
it
I
deals
literally
with
my
like standards of
relationship
beauty and
started
everything too.
on
Like,
Tinder.
I'm
Like
saying no. I'm saying
Everybody use it for different ways. Put it
yes.
that way.
yeah.
I'm saying the
Okay,
reason
but
they
anyway,
didn't make
so
it for
can I just
they
play the statistics real quick?
Yeah,
Because
let her
so
tell the
yes, yes,
at the
yes,
end
yes,
of the
yes.
hold
day,
on, hold
like
on, let her
who's going to
finish,
get
let
the
her
most
finish.
matches? Sorry.
Go ahead,
Okay.
man.
Okay.
you
So
know.
who's going to get the most matches? So they have like at the top for like men, it's white men, and then it comes down to like they have like it's not Middle Eastern men, but it's like some sort of like sect of that, and then it's like black men, and then you have like all the way down at the bottom you have Asian men. So and within there they're talking about people of the Oriental descent, so Korean, Chinese, all of
Hmm.
that. And
Hmm.
then for women, actually, the highest up is Asian women, and then you have like a Middle
Interesting.
Eastern women because they're considered to be exotic. And then you have white women, and then Hispanic women, and then all the way down, there's black women. So the two groups that are least likely to date or find a significant other are Asian men and black women.
Hmm.
And it's so crazy because out here, now I see a lot of meetups that are between Asian men and black women.
Oh
And like
yeah,
that's crazy, but it's
They
interesting.
true. Like,
being left out, so they got to
and
find it
so
somewhere
here
else.
for we felt
Yeah.
forgotten. And here's the thing, and they talked about the reason why it happened this way is because what we're viewed as in the media. So for like the Asian man, he's often considered to be meek, nerdy, not strong, anti-mass,
Hmm.
the things
Yeah,
that are
yeah.
masculine. And while
Hmm.
the black woman's considered to be abrasive, loud, overly sexualized, or not attractive. Like those are the two
Yep.
areas. And so the two
Hot to top
groups,
Venus.
so there you
You
go.
can always get on blackpeoplemeet.com if you really want you a black woman. So
And
that's,
that's great
I'm
and
just saying.
all. But
Okay, so what
so
what
just
I was gonna say, and I wasn't trying to deny the statistics or anything like that. What I was gonna say is that there are statistics for everything. We all know that, right? But what I always try to see is that not necessarily what statistic is more important than another statistic, but what statistic meets what's what I'm looking for is more poignant. Like so, for instance, right? So when Kevin Durant went to Golden State, they put a statistic that said Kevin Durant's only one of five people to ever score 27, 8, and like two. And I'm like, that's such a faulty. I mean, you could say what's 25, 6, and 0. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different. That's so skewed. Yes, it's
Yeah.
a statistic, but what does it actually mean, right?
but I
So
feel
this,
like like the dating one is one that we could replicate.
Yeah.
no,
And
but
so
this is no,
here's
but
in
this
my
is
own personal experience. For me,
no. I get
swiping
that.
right for
Uh-huh.
black men, white men, Asian men, Middle Eastern men,
Hmm.
I get most of my matches, I will say, are Asian and Middle Eastern men.
Well,
There's
Maya,
a lot
listen,
of white
I
guys.
don't know. You ain't got no problem getting married. I already know you, homie. So
Well, look.
But
Hey,
I'm
let me
just
ask
saying,
you
hold
this
on.
though. Let
But
me
I was
ask you
saying
this
I
though.
was able to replicate that
yeah, yeah.
exact thing.
No,
Like,
but this is the statistic I
But
was going to
yeah.
use. The statistic I was going to use was is that if you look at in all races, the races that like in terms of children and in terms of marriages, most races, for the most part, the people that they marry the most is people within their own race. The people who they procreate with is within their own race. So I hear what you're saying about, yes, in terms of dating, that's true. But if you look at most
Bully.
African Americans who are born, most of them are born to someone in their same race. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. So it's like,
But as our generation,
But that
starts
doesn't
getting
mean it's not
married and have
problematic
no,
though.
I
kids,
didn't
That
say
because
doesn't
I
that.
want
mean
to
That's
say
it's
not
that
what I said.
it
I didn't
doesn't
say
I
it
mean
was
really
it's
feel
not
like that's
problematic.
where it
indicative of
became
like a
very
bigger
toxic.
issue.
What I didn't no, but I didn't say that, James. I didn't say it's not problematic. What I'm saying is that if you go look, white people are having babies by other white people. They are marrying other white people. Now, yes, there are other statistics that are creeping up that yes, they're marrying outside of their race, but
Hmm.
that number and that growth is smaller than everything
Well,
staying the
by the
same.
time you get to when the
But
people
yeah,
on the east and west coast that are our age are getting married, I'm gonna tell you, there's gonna be a shift. There's a
Well,
shift
look,
that's coming.
But is that hold on? But that's the question. Hold on, is that a bad
but
thing? Is that a
It's
bad
not
thing?
a
There's a
bad thing.
shift in people
It's
no,
not a
marrying outside of their
bad
race.
thing. But at the same
but
time,
no.
back to
That's
the black woman
yeah.
being
That's
forgotten,
not
I
the
would just
point.
point out she was forgotten while she was dating, like
Right.
too.
Hey, but I want to say, like, back to what Dave was saying about the statistics, how you got to look at that sometimes, right?
You do,
And when you
and
look at
maybe
these,
that
and when
one
you
works
look at
for you.
the,
We can
no,
replicate
let's
it.
look though. If you look at some of these dating websites, you got to think about it though. That's why I brought up blackpeoplemeet.com because that's specifically for black people, but you have other races on there, right? So
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
got
But the
listen, you got
pool is different.
listen,
Exactly.
you got Tinder, but you also got Soul Swipe. It's the same thing as Tinder, but it's called Soul Swipe. When you what you think that means? This is black people.
Yeah,
You
so if
gonna
you measure the
find more
statistics from
black
this, like,
people.
because I can say as a
You know
black
what I'm
male
saying?
living in Dallas,
Yeah, all
95%
the
of the
heat.
people I saw when I was on Tinder was white girls. Like
Exactly. You're
I
gonna
didn't see
find more
Spanish,
white
I didn't
people,
see Asian,
more
I didn't see none of that. It was 90, like literally 98%
And
white women.
I'm sure it
So
affects where you
I
live, because
mean,
like
that's
in Los
no,
Angeles,
society
for
it's a
too.
much
sure.
So
But that's what I'm
more
saying. So when I
diverse
see a
area.
statistic, it's like, are they gathering from all of Tinder? Like, you know what I'm saying? How do you, I don't even know how you measure that because it's like you said,
Well,
if you go
same
to
way
Soul
with
Swipe,
Tinder,
I
they got
guarantee you
that.
the results is different. If you go to Black People Meet or Farmers Meet, whatever, like
Well,
they're all
what was
different.
they were talking
Christians
about
mingle.
farmersonly.com.
on
Yeah.
your phone? It was Tinder, Meetup, Plenty of Fish, stuff like that. So things that you're swiping on from your
But
phone.
that's mostly white though. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying the audience, the target audience is mostly white. So obviously
America's
filters
mostly
go to
white.
that.
So there you go.
No,
You guys know,
duh.
for real though, we are like running way over
America's
time.
mostly white.
So I think
Like, what
that
are you
maybe
talking about?
at some point this could be a topic in which we do discuss online dating and race relations and all that other stuff, because like
Or
we
we
are
can
like
just talk
way
about this
over.
off air.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, let's
Or
do that.
we can do that. So I think we should like close out the show. I'm not sure like how
Was
y'all
that
want
one
to
of
do
the
that.
suggestions? Was like time one of the suggestions that we were supposed to
Yeah,
talk
Yes.
about
too
that
long.
I wasn't there
Yeah,
for?
right. And I would like I keep like it was kept getting good. Actually, when I first like when it was time for me to start, you guys asked me about like young black and like female. We
Mm-hmm.
should have been done then. And this is I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize that this was gonna lead into something even
A
more. So
whole
we're gonna
nother
cut it here.
topic.
Yeah. So we can come back to this at some point in time.
Okay.
Uh I know for me next week I will not be here, so someone else is gonna have to set this up. We're gonna have to replicate this between the four of y'all. Um,
Okay.
Where you gonna be at?
I got finals,
You
and
can't just take weeks off.
James, you
Uh,
wrapping it
Okay,
up.
listen.
there you
Let's talk
go.
about this after we get off the air, okay?
All right.
you're
So
right.
anyway,
You're
so I
right.
was just
You're right.
so,
My
but
fault.
what I was trying to get to, the reason I said I was gonna be here, I wasn't sure what time you guys wanted to, if you guys are keeping it at the same time. I know that we had a text message about being at
That
3.
was 2 weeks
So
from now. We're gonna keep
okay,
it at the same time for right
so
now.
it's gonna be 1 o'clock, Pacific Standard Time. No,
3
3 o'clock.
o'clock.
Is
That's
that
3
it.
o'clock
Central?
Central Time.
Okay.
3 o'clock
Central Time.
Central.
3 o'clock Central. All right. Well, we will see you guys next week on the Underground. I'll let y'all.
Is my video on?
It's
Uh,
all, brother.
no,
I
it's
just want to
off.
shout out my put my video
You
on.
have to turn. I didn't turn it off. You have it
Can I
off.
do it? Do it. I just want to put my man Momo out here one time.
Oh, here we go.
That's all that is. That's all that was.
Okay,
Okay. Well,
Yes, a
you can
theme
bring it
song
back
too.
next week. No, that's perfect.
I hit the
Bring
button
it
on my
back next
computer.
week when I don't have to see him. So there you go.
Oh, he
Momo's
gonna
gonna
be
be
here.
your fifth person. Well,
Momo and Mumu gonna
animal.
be here.
All right. Well,
Hey,
on that note,
everybody
you
out
guys,
there.
this has been the
I
Underground,
guess.
and I'm about to cut us off right now.
all right.